of handmade business can be tough when trying to monetize what you love. We've got truth bombs and motivation to help you find your way through. Passion to profit, let's start today, 'cause the world needs what you create. Tune in right now, it's your shot to learn how to be a handmade boss.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. So today I am here with Pash. Hi, Pash.
Hi, Steph.
And today we're going to be talking a little bit more about the business, the background. Like, we're going to really dig into it all. So I'm going to let you have the floor to tell me a little bit more about what you do, why you do it, and yeah, give me the whole spiel.
Okay, so for probably the past nearly 30 years,
Right.
I've worked in a very highly regulated scientific industry. And for the last 25 of those, I've been freelance. So I'm kind of used to having my own business, but I've always been working for somebody else. I've always had a love of the ocean. So I'm a scuba diving instructor. I'm a free dive instructor. I'm an underwater photographer, and kind of everything ocean. I just absolutely love it. And a few years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I had to have a series of operations. I think I've had 9 or 10 now. And after one particularly bad one, I forget which one it was, number 3 or 4 or something, my friend decided that I was off work, and she asked me if I wanted to do a glass fusing taster course. And I thought, well, why not? I'm a little bit miserable. I can't go back to work. I don't really have anything to do. So yeah, why not? So we went and did this very basic glass fusing taster course, and we really enjoyed it. And when we got the results back, they totally messed our glass up. They'd put the wrong settings on the kiln, and it was bubbles, and it was just really naff. But we kind of fell in love with the process, and we did a couple more courses. And so I started doing glass fusing maybe 8 years ago, something like that. And most of it is ocean themed, I have to say. That's where my inspiration comes from. And so now I do all sorts of weird and wonderful glass themed ocean stuff. It was a hobby to start with, and I'm now trying to make that my main business. I quit my job just over a year ago, and initially it was going to be like a little sabbatical. And I did quite a lot of travel last year. I'd come into a little bit of money, which I've spent every single penny of now. But I had just had the best year. I traveled the world, and I free dived with humpback whales, and I photographed this, that, and the other. And I just lived my best life last year. And this year I'm thinking, right, I need to actually settle down and knuckle down and get going on this business. So yeah, that's where we are today.
Those adventures sound amazing. Love that.
It was very, very cool. Although I've spent all my money, I will never regret it. I just had the best year.
Oh, yeah, because so many people are like, oh, I might do like the double glazing, or I might do something like that. And you get it done and you're like, it's windows, it's whatever. But you're like, nah, I'm going to go and like enjoy it. And I think that's the best way to go, right?
I figured I could always make more money, right?
Mm.
You know, even if I had to go back to my day job, my official day job, I could, you can always make more money. You can't always make more time. So, I kind of thought I'm in the right space to do it. I had the funds behind me. I had some time. So I thought, well, why not? So I did.
I love that. I completely agree with you there. So I would love to know, because I'm completely oblivious when it comes to glass and all that kind of stuff. So what's the difference between someone creating like a glass bead, a glass vase versus glass fusing? Like, what's the difference there?
So there's lots of different aspects to glass. There's obviously stained glass, which is, I don't need to go into that. That's fairly obvious. There's another aspect called copper foiling, which is very similar to stained glass. It's all done kind of cold, and then you have a soldering iron. Beadwork is done. It's really cool. I've tried it. It's really difficult. So, huge respect for people who do make beads. It's done all hot on a flame. So you have like a butane gas almost like Bunsen burner type thing, and you heat glass and you make beads. It's super, super difficult. And yeah, I'd love to be able to be better at it, but that's not my thing. And then glass fusing is basically taking old pieces of glass, shaping them in whatever way, so cutting or using different accessory glass, that sort of thing, putting it all together in a design and then firing it in a kiln. So you get it super, super hot. My kiln, I fire at a nearly 800 degrees C. So all the glass melts into a pattern that you hopefully want. And then you can do further things with it. So if you wanted to make a vase, for example, you can put it on a different schedule. And if you can imagine almost like a polo type shape thing. So like a ceramic polo. Yeah, that's sort of, I know we're doing this on camera, but yeah, like a polo type thing. You put your glass blank on top of that, you heat it, and it basically falls through and makes a vase. So you can do lots and lots of different shapes. It's the thing I love about glass is it's so transformative. So when you're working cold, it's sharp and hard and, not very tactile, not very nice to work with. As soon as you fired it, it just becomes this amazing, I don't know, it's just lovely. It's very tactile. The edges are all kind of smoothed off and everything just completely transforms about it. And I think that's what I love. And you never really know what you're going to get. You've got a reasonable idea, but sometimes things don't work out exactly how you imagine. So I think that's what I love about it. It's just, completely transformative.
I love that. That sounds really, really nice. Not the kiln, though. I mean, you definitely don't want to have an accident with that, do you? Because that would be, that would hurt slightly.
It would, yeah. It's pretty amazing though. When it's on full temperature, you can just about touch the top of it because it's so well insulated. I mean, it gets warm, but it's not 800 degrees on the outside. And it used to be in my living room. It's now in a garage. We had to move for my hobby. So we bought a new house for my hobby, basically. Other reasons as well. But yeah, it used to be in the living room and the living room didn't heat up. So, it's a pretty safe thing.
How is that working in the summer when we get the heat waves? Is that unbearable or is it actually all right?
No, it's fine, actually. It's fine because you basically do everything cold and then assemble it in the kiln and then set it off and leave it going. And it doesn't, you don't really feel heat from it or anything.
Oh, okay. I was going to say that would be like my nightmare.
Although having said that, I do a masterclass with a lady. I've done it for the last 5 years, I think, in London. And somehow we always pick the hottest week of the year. And she has 3 kilns running by the middle of the week. And we get in there and it's just sweltering and you're stripping off and stripping off and stripping off until you're wearing almost nothing.
Wow.
But yeah, so it can be, if you're working in the same room as your kiln and you've got loads of kilns going, it can get really hot. Yeah.
Wow. Crazy. My God. So what made you fall in love with what you sell in terms of you went to this workshop, you were like, quite enjoy this, but maybe the results from that wasn't as good as you, because I guess you saw pictures and was like, that would be nice. And then yours came out and you were like, okay. So what made you go from that point to, I want to try again? Like, this is something that I want to pursue.
I think probably the kind of fishy aspect of it. So making stuff for myself to put around the home. And once I'd made, I remember making like my first fish and I was just blown away by it because it was completely different to how I imagined. And I think it was probably being able to make things that nobody else was making. And it was all for me and for friends at the time. I think that's probably what made me fall in love with it. Just having the ability to be a bit creative as well, because my day job was not creative. It was very scientific. I was a scientist / engineer and it's very, science driven and not really creative. So, this was a nice way to let my creative side out, I think.
Oh, I love that. That's brilliant. So what's the name of your Etsy shop? Just because I know at this point people will be like, that sounds really cool. I want to have a look at one. What's the name of your shop so people can go and have a little nosy?
It's called Ocean Fusions.
Ocean Fusions with an S on the end.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. So go and have a little nosy. Is it Etsy, your own website?
It is Etsy, yeah, it's Etsy. Although if you plug in oceanfusions.co.uk, I've got the domain name and it just fires you straight off to Etsy at the moment. But yeah, so hopefully I'm easy to find.
Yeah. Brilliant. So I guess, where did Handmade Bosses kind of fit in with all of that amazing journey? Like, when did you first kind of discover, I don't want to say me, but I suppose me, and I guess the videos, podcasts, like talk a little bit more about that stage of things.
So as I said, last year I didn't really do very much in terms of the business. I had meant to, but it just never really happened. My shop was on holiday mode for most of the year. And I'd come back and turn it off holiday mode. But of course, I wasn't getting any sales because it was off holiday mode for maybe a month at a time. It was ridiculous. It was crazy. So this year I thought, right, well, I've either got to go back to work or I need to, and I say go back to work. I am working, just not in that job. I need to be a bit kinder to myself when I say go back to work, because I am working. But yes, I thought, right, I need a bit of a boost now. I need to figure out what I'm actually doing. And I think I'd seen a video on the conversion rate. So your free training, the 90-minute free training. I'd seen that and I did that. And I thought, oh, wow, this woman actually knows what she's talking about. And I got the book and I've started reading it. I'm not very far through because loads of other things have happened. But I started reading that. And then the postathon came on and I thought, brilliant, I'm going to do that. And I'd been thinking about joining the HBSA, but at the time I was thinking, oh, crumbs, I guess I wasn't willing to invest in myself. And after doing the postathon, I just thought, do you know what? I can do this. And I just made the leap and I thought, right, I'm going to join HBSA. Hand on heart, it's the best thing I've done this year. It just focuses me and it just kind of, I needed a kick up the bum, definitely. And this is giving me it, I think.
Oh, I love that. That's so good to hear as well. Because I like the challenges that we do, because it just brings people in to focus all in one space. Whereas I think videos and podcasts and things are great, but it's like everyone's going to listen to it on their own timeline and try and fit it in with what they've got going on. Whereas the challenges are like, okay, let's bring everyone together and let's just focus for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So I love that. Yeah. I love that.
And I think everybody kind of helps each other as well, don't they? It's kind of like a team mentality. And, if everyone's doing it at the same time, you can kind of say, oh, this hasn't really worked for me. Anyone got any advice? And I think people in both of your groups online are really helpful. So, I think that's great. It works for me.
Brilliant. Oh, amazing. I love that. And what impact would you say that the HBSA has kind of had? I mean, obviously you've talked about bringing your focus back and having like a methodical way to work through things. Is that kind of like the main thing that you think it's brought you?
Definitely. I was really, really organized in my day job. In my home life, not at all. My home life is just chaos and that's just the way it is. And it's probably never going to change. But yeah, joining HBSA and actually having kind of a focus and, right, well, this is what I'm doing this week, today, for the next 10 minutes, whatever, has really helped. And, I never had a social media page for Ocean Fusions. It was always my stuff. So I've kind of separated that out. And that's just, I guess, yeah, it's just focused me. I tend to try and do everything all at once. I think a lot of us are like that, right?
Yes, I am as well.
and I think having, I'm definitely a list maker. And I think just having a bit more focus about, right, well, no, don't worry about that bit yet. Let's focus on this week's tasks this week and we'll worry about that stuff later on. I think that's probably what helped me the most, is just kind of organization and focus.
Yeah. I mean, what's the saying? It says you can overestimate what you can do in a day and a week, but you can underestimate what you can do in a year. And I'm so that person. Like it comes around to the end of the year and I'm like, okay, let's get into what we're doing next year. And I pile everything in like January, February, March. And then it comes to like the summer and I'm like, I've done all that now.
Yeah.
But I was really stressed when it was happening. So yeah, I completely feel you there. It's nice to have something that's a bit more like, right, no, let's just do this first. Okay, so talking about like your biggest takeaway from them, because I always like to hear, because it's nice to know where people start to get the most out of it. So would you say that having, again, like the lessons laid out, the phases laid out, and like a path laid out is the biggest thing that you've taken away from it, or is there anything else?
That is a big part of it, yes. I'm just going through target market. Well, I've actually skipped over it because I didn't like it, but I'm going to go back and redo it again. I found it really difficult. I found that's the most difficult thing I've done so far. So I'm going to go back and do that part. So I'm not that far through HBSA at the moment. However, I think one of the biggest takeaways so far is in phase one, doing the Etsy evidence section. And it actually pointed out to me that I'm not doing too badly. I'm not doing anywhere near as well as I would like to be doing, but you know, I get really good reviews. I'm not selling mega, but what I do sell, people love. So I know I'm doing the right things. It's just now I need to get it in front of more eyes. So yeah, I guess it's kind of reaffirmed, keep making what you're making. It's nice stuff. People like it. It's now just getting in front of people, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's a big question that I get. And I actually had it in the group, I think yesterday, where someone was like, look, if I'm not getting views, I've had my shop for like 6 months. If I'm not getting views, it must be the product, right? And it's like, no, 9 times out of 10, well, probably more than that, 99.9% of the time, it's not your products. It's just A, the way you're presenting them, or B, people aren't seeing them. Like, there's just not enough eyeballs there. And as we know, conversion rate, we know that probably 95% of people that see your product, that see your shop, are going to bounce off again. And that's fine. That's where it should be. But people, I think, take that on as people don't like me, my stuff is not good enough, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's really difficult because you do feel like you're being judged when you look at views and what have you, and they're not converting into sales. You do feel like, what am I doing wrong? You're not doing anything wrong. It's, you know, I mean, if you think about when you go and buy something from Etsy, how many things do you click off of? And, you know, you don't buy everything you click on, do you? There's no, you know, we'd all be broke if we did that.
It's not like when you're shopping for something and you click off of a listing that you hate the person, you hate everything that they do. It's just that that's not the right fit right now.
Yeah.
It might be later on, but for now, it's not quite there yet. So, and that's completely normal as well. I'd love to know. So obviously last year you traveled, which was great. How different is your business? I don't want to say a year ago, because obviously you were doing your thing, but before you started to travel, like how different is your business now versus then?
I'd say it's pretty different, actually. The most listings I ever had was maybe 20 at a time. And I've now got just over 50, I think. It's difficult with fused glass because it takes quite a while to make stuff. Some of my pieces will take maybe 4 or 5 days to make because they're going in and out of the kiln several times. Some things are, you know, one and done and that's it. But yeah, so it's hard to make stock, I guess. But yeah, I think it's very different. My shop has a different name now. I've been through 2 name changes, but I'm settled on Ocean Fusions because I think it does what it says on the tin. I've started kind of relisting things and redoing all the photographs. So I think it looks more cohesive. It's certainly not finished, but I think, yeah, it certainly looks more cohesive. I think my listings are better quality. I've got more variety on there. I think I'm a bit more put together than I was. In the past, it was an addition to what, you know, it was like a little hobby that I was doing as well as my day job. Whereas now I want this to be my day job. So I'm kind of a bit more focused with it and a bit more serious about it, I guess.
And where do you see your business yourself in a year's time? Like, where would you like it to ideally be?
I mean, I'd really like it, but this is my day job at the moment. I'd like it to continue being my day job and pay enough that I can actually live on it. I think if I can start making a few more sales, start getting a few more items in the shop and just really kind of make a success of it, I think that would, you know, it'd be great because it means I can start playing with other designs as well and, you know, going a bit wacky and, you know, yeah, I love doing glass and I love doing sea themed glass. So yeah, if I can make this a success and have it as my main income, that would be the dream, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you're in the right place. You're in phase 2, which is like the big one. So you're definitely in the right bit. Okay. What is, and I have a feeling that this is going to be a humdinger question, but what crazy but true fact is there about you?
Oh, you're going to love this. I once discovered a new species of fish.
God. Okay, you have to tell me the story there. You can't leave me hanging on that.
I know, it's a good one. And I got no credit for it as well. Oh, boo-hoo, patriarchy, etc.
Oh my God, no.
Okay, so I was on a underwater photo workshop with an underwater photographer and marine biologist called Dr. Alex Mustard. He's a good friend, very nice man. And we were in the Red Sea in Egypt, and we were in this little lagoon, and we were supposed to be photographing a species of fish. And this lagoon kind of it's really shallow. It's all sand and then rocks around the outside. And there was this one kind of coral outcrop in the middle, and everyone was around this coral outcrop photographing this fish. I thought, I'll come back when there's not so many people. And I sort of poopled around the outside of this lagoon, and I saw something very, very tiny. And I'm talking like maybe a millimeter, 2 millimeters inside. Yeah, really tiny, inside of a hole in a rock. And I thought, what on earth is that? Is that something living? And I couldn't really see it with the naked eye. And I put my camera up and I thought, oh, there's a little fish in there, because the camera has good optics, so I could see. I had a magnifying lens on, so I screwed that on the front of my camera. And I took a photo, and I'm there taking photos basically of a rock. And Alex was in the lagoon, and he came over to me and he sort of like gestured, what are you doing? And I showed him my camera screen, and he sort of did a double take, and he gestured to borrow my magnifying thing underwater. So I unscrewed it, gave it to him, and he took a photo and then gave it back to me, and off he swam. And when we got out of the water at the end of the day, we looked at this photo of this fish, and he said, I don't know what that is. I've never seen one before. I'm going to post a photo of it and see if anybody knows what it is. And bearing in mind, Alex was a marine biologist as well, so he's pretty up on this fish. It got posted online, and some Saudi scientists got in touch with him to say, we believe this is a new species of fish. Will you go and collect samples for us? And he said, no, I'm not in the country anymore, but here's where they were. And these scientists went and collected some samples of the fish. Yeah, it was identified as a new species of goby. And it's got a very scientific name, which I can't remember, not pronounce. So that's my species of fish.
So you heard it here first. Pash actually did this. Probably not the person that said they did it. That sucks. I feel like the Pash fish would be like a really nice name.
It was called, among the underwater photo community for some years, it was called the Pash Blenny, because we all thought it was a blenny, not a goby. And, some people still call it the Pash Blenny, so that's kind of nice.
Oh, yeah, that should definitely be a thing. I mean, I don't really know that much about fish, but I think if you discover something, you can well get to put your name to it.
I think so.
I love it. Well, your adventure sounds amazing. Very jealous. I wish I could dive. Maybe I should learn. Don't know.
Well, you now know a scuba instructor.
For sure. I'm like, my husband is terrified of the ocean, so he'll probably.
Oh, really?
Yeah. See, every time we go down the beach, I'm like paddling with my flip-flops off. I'm like, yeah. And he's like walking about 10 meters adjacent to me. And I'm like, no. My last question then is, what piece of advice would you give to you a year and a bit ago, or a year ago?
Probably the biggest piece of advice I would give myself is stop being so hard on yourself. I am my biggest critic. I compare myself all the time to other people doing better than me, and I should stop doing it. I'm getting better at that, I think. But I think most of us are really hard on ourselves. And I tend to feel guilty if I'm not like working 24/7. So yeah, stop being so hard on yourself and don't feel guilty.
Yeah. What do you think creators are like that? Like, why do you think we're more susceptible to compare ourselves to others. I just find it really, really interesting how, especially creatives are very like side-eyeing and kind of seeing, oh, is what I'm doing good enough? Do you think because we're stepping outside of the normal, or the norm really, which is you get a job, you stay there for 30, 40 years, you know, whatever.
Yeah, I think that might have a lot to do with it, actually, because it's, you know, I think also people, you know, when you say, oh, well, this is what I do, you know, and this is my job, people kind of get like, oh, well, you don't have a proper job. And you're like, well, this is a proper job, you know. And I think we feel, you can feel defensive about what you're doing as well. But I think also being creative, you know, you're putting stuff out there for people to critique, essentially, aren't you? And so, you know, it's kind of natural that you're going to critique your own stuff, because you're putting things out there that you hope people are going to like. You don't make things for the sake of making it and think, oh, no one will like this, I'll make it anyway. You know, you're looking for some kind of validation and some kind of appreciation of what you're making, I suppose. So I think that's probably why we suffer more than others, maybe.
Okay, so where can people find you? Plug all the places, shops, social media, wherever you want to send people listening right now. Plug.
So I have an Instagram page, which is ocean.fusions. I have a Facebook page that I don't do very much on, but I will start at some point, and that's Ocean Fusions. My Etsy shop is Ocean Fusions. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Brilliant. Awesome. And if you are listening and you want some really amazing glass stuff, the necklace, I mean, if you're listening and you can't see us right now, the necklace that Pash has got on is really nice, and I've been like looking at it the entire time. So if I can see it on a camera however many miles away and I'm like, ooh, then you definitely want to go and check out her stuff. So thank you all very much. Thank you, Pash, for coming on and telling us your story. And thank you guys as well for listening / watching at home or on a dog walk or in the car or wherever you are. And definitely go and check out the shop or shops or Instagrams. Thank you so much, Pash.
Thanks, Steph. It's been lovely talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in to How to Be a Handmade Boss. And if you're eager to boost your Etsy sales within just 7 days, then be sure to join my most popular free training at handmadebosses.com/conversion. You can also find the link in the show notes as well. Keep an eye out for our next episode, where we'll be continuing our journey towards handmade business success together. And until then, keep crafting and stay inspired, because the world really does need those special creations that only you can make.